Good day, good people. Again, this is Kepra. I'm happy to be here, happy to share today. Today, the question is, what is the most important health habit? Right off the top, initially, what I think is, what most people may think is how they eat. What kind of diet do you eat? Is it a raw food diet? Is it a vegan diet? Is it a paleo diet? I mean, we could probably all agree that all of those things, we can make a connection and say, okay, it definitely is some type of diet. However, I would say it's not diet specific necessarily, and I will explain later. Then when we look at lifestyle, we can also say, okay, is it a certain type of exercise? Is it a certain type of, way we think, our positive mental attitude? It's all those things. However, it's not anything specific. If I had to really say what is most important, if I had to rank or, put something at the top, very simply, I wouldn't say it's any type of diet per se, and I wouldn't say it's any type of lifestyle practice. I would say, first and foremost, the most important health habit is the amount of food that you are consuming. Period. Let's look at that. Why is the amount of food that you consume on a day-to-day basis the most important health habit? Well, when we look at the body, when we look at in terms of its health, its vitality, and we look at the ability for our bodies to fall sick from disease and illness, one thing is clear: most oftentimes than not, it is attributed to mucus and mucus accumulation. And the thing is that, mucus is a blessing. We have to understand that the role of mucus is to play is to protect us. And it's the first line. Once we ingest anything, some mucus is going to be developed. Obviously, some foods are going to produce a lot more mucus than other foods. So with anything that we eat, there's a balance that we have to play. There's a dance, if you will. And as long as we are basically maintaining a good balance, the body can monitor, it can manage the mucus that is accumulated. Now, with that said, again, back to the question, why is the consumption or the amount of food that we consume the most important health habit? Well, very simply, we eat too much. And when we eat too much, our whole digestive system, it has basically a finite amount of energy. And and when I say finite, I mean, within a day, within a week, within a month, within a lifetime. And obviously, let's just take a random number, like say the body was designed to consume 100,000 pounds of food. Now, some people may eat that 100,000 pounds a lot faster than other people. And certainly there's other considerations in terms of your size, your body weight, your activity. All those things are factored in. But for the most part, if we took those things into consideration, if we eat less, then the body can manage what we eat better. It's very simple. It's common sense, really. And the thing is that as long as we're eating enough to maintain our daily activities, then basically we have a much less chance of definitely falling sick or falling ill, number one. And then number two, not only so if we're not falling sick and we're not falling ill, then we'll more than likely have a greater vitality. So then the question is why is the consumption of food, or the amount of the consumption of the food that we eat, more important than, let's say, the diet? Because you could say, well, Kepra, I eat, this, that, and the other, and a lot of people consider that not to be healthy. So the question is if I eat, let's say, meats and other less than desirable foods, more important than the amount. So, like, say for example, you take your raw vegan over here, and you take the starch meat eater over here, and you can say, well, if this person is only eating a handful of that, and then this other person is eating 10 handfuls of the good stuff, the person is eating less of the bad stuff. I can argue, and I can pretty much come to the conclusion that the person over here that's eating much less of quote-unquote bad stuff is going to be healthier than the person that's eating a lot of the good stuff. So that's really what the point that I'm trying to drive home is, that yeah, we want to eat the good stuff, but we want to manage how we eat the good stuff, what time of day we eat the good stuff, and that will, in essence, really, allow the body to work in an optimal level. And when it's working at an optimal level, then we have less chance of disease, short-term, long-term. It is, in my opinion, the most important health habit. If we can manage the amount of food. Now, with that said, if you're eating the bad stuff versus the good stuff, it's really the bad stuff that keep you eating the bad stuff. The huge agribusinesses and the foods that are very empty nutritionally, but very addictive. They're very stimulating and they're very addictive. They're designed to keep you eating. So it's very difficult to eat the bad stuff and just limit it to a handful, or one meal, I should say, versus the good stuff. And when I say good stuff, let me just give some examples. When I say good stuff, I'm talking like nutritionally dense foods. So essentially, the goal, and I think I've talked about this before, is that your goal should be to eat one meal a day. And if you're eating one meal a day, and that is holding you and sustaining you for that whole day, then that is the test. That is the test that what you're eating is truly nutritionally dense, number one. It has a lot of vitality, number two. It's just all good. So some examples, some like key foods on the green leafy vegetable side. Just green leafy vegetables, number one. Start with that. Green leafy vegetables. Some of my favorites. In terms of the nutritional density, kale. Kale's probably at the top. You got your sea vegetables. You got things like collards. Any large, dark, green leafy vegetable. So you got varieties of kale. You got collards. You got spinach. You have things like chard. You got mustard greens. Turnip greens. So you have lots of different green leafy vegetables that are nutritionally dense. And if you're not eating lots of green leafy vegetables, no matter what you eat, then you're eating less than ideal for the human body. I think no matter what, people like to talk about like blood type. What's the other things? You look at the Ayurvedic system. You got different doshas. What's your dosha? In ancient Chinese medicine, you got, they have systems based on like what type you may fall under, and if you fall under a certain type, then you should eat certain these foods, stay away from these foods. Regardless of your blood type, regardless of your metabolism, regardless of your dosha, green leafy vegetables, we all should be eating them, period. So green leafy vegetables, definitely at the top. Then you have like your things like nuts, seeds. If you're allergic to nuts, you still have seeds. Most people are not allergic, or seeds are not or not considered a food that is a common allergen. And seeds, let's just look at that for a second. Just by the very nature of a seed is something that that leads to either a plant, a tree, a vine, and something that is going to produce more of the same seeds, whether it be a leaf or fruit or herb. So the seed contains all of that information. It contains all of that DNA. So it, by its very nature, is very dense, and it holds a lot of nutrition. So we definitely want to be eating seeds. What are some of the best seeds? I would have to say hemp seed is near the top. Coconut is actually considered a seed. And seed. And the thing about one interesting thing about coconut and what makes coconut, especially the water, is that the coconut, being the fruit seed nut that it is, the water of the coconut actually has the same qualities of a seed, but still being water. One of the things I say about coconut water is that it is a water and a food simultaneously. It's the only thing that can really hold that distinction. Even if you take fruit and you juice it, or vegetables and you juice them, you're actually processing it and you're removing the water of the plant or the fiber from the fiber. And so you're creating, basically, you're separating what coconut water naturally has as a natural duality. So that's really the magic of coconut water, and that's why we can really almost live exclusively on coconut water for a considerable amount of time. And it's definitely by far the best thing to do a liquid diet or a fast on is the coconut water. So just a little sidebar there while we're talking about seeds. And the qualities of seeds is that the coconut water has the integrity of a seed. But when we eat seeds, it's very dense. It has a lot of fiber. If you eat too much seeds, it can actually probably constipate you. But if you drink too much coconut water, it will actually clean you out, and it'll nourish you at the same time. No other food has that, comes close to that. Probably the only other food that I could think that really comes close to having the ability to nourish us on that level, and it's a distant second, is probably watermelon with seeds. Watermelon with seeds that come close to what coconut water can do for us nutritionally. It can do for us in terms of detoxing us. So the thing is that in terms of seeds, we definitely need to be eating seeds. If we're eating seeds, seeds are going to definitely carry us. So we had, hemp seeds, coconuts, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds. I mean, these are all nutritionally superior foods. Of course, we have our nuts, for example, almonds, pecans, walnuts. I mean, all of these things are great. And if we're eating these as primarily part of our diet, and if we're combining them in a nice way, in a culinary kind of way, then what's nice is that nutritionally, when we eat these foods, they're giving us a lot. They're giving us what they're doing versus what the quote-unquote bad stuff is not doing, is that if you're eating primarily raw vegetation, you're getting 4 things. You're getting water, number 1. And, well, you can say, well, I drink 8 glasses of water or 12 glasses of water. Aside from that, it's just as important, or really more important in my opinion, that we should be getting water from our food. So it's nice to drink water. No one's saying, and definitely not me, I'm not saying that you should not drink water. But what I am saying is that we should be getting more water from our food. So we're getting water, enzymes. Enzymes are the workers, and if we're eating foods that have enzymes, that's less that our body has to do. So it's very important that we get enzymes from our food. Minerals. Minerals are the whole thing, and that's why I started off with green leafy vegetables, because a lot of minerals that green leafy vegetables are abundant in is what a lot of human beings are deficient in. Talk about calcium, magnesium, just being the 2 that come to the top of my head first and foremost. Potassium. So minerals, and usually minerals, when we eat minerals are usually in the form, or in terms of the way minerals taste, generally they taste bitter. So that's why green leafy vegetables have more of a bitter taste than a sweet taste. And if we're used to eating more bitter foods, it's like the more bitter, the more minerals. So we really need to change our palate and get used to eating more bitter foods, where to the point that they become more sweet to us. And that's an indication that our palate is changing. If we're eating a lot of sweet foods and they're really too sweet for us, then that's a good sign. We definitely are really just become overly dependent and really hooked on foods that are really too sweet and under mineralized. And the thing is that you can't cheat health. You can say, well, I'm gonna eat my sweet foods, but I'm gonna take my mineral supplements. That's not gonna work. And the reason it's not gonna work is because you have to be able to taste nutrition. It starts there. If you're not eating foods, if you're not tasting the minerals, then it's not going to assimilate in your body in the same way. Yeah, you can pop your health supplements, and this is the thing, that can we benefit from supplements somewhat, but it can never trump food. It can never do that, and that's why I don't really like supplements per se. People say, well, the soil is demineralized and the food is secondhand, and all of these things are true. But we do the best we can, and that's why I always promote shopping locally, shopping at your local farmers markets, even over organic, because your local farmers are doing probably the best. That's probably the best food that you can get. Period. I mean, it's probably picked that day or the day before, or growing your own food. That's the best. So the thing is that you can't cheat with this thing, and by taking supplements. So we had water, we had enzymes, we got minerals, and we got vitamins. And with vitamins, the vitamins generally come from our fruits, and pretty much every fruit has vitamin C, and even our green leafy vegetables have vitamin C. And if you and the research has been done, vitamin C is like, it's really the cure all. I mean, we can't get enough vitamin C. So if we're eating like largely a raw plant diet, then we're getting those four things. And not only are we getting those four things, that's allowing us to eat less because we're getting more with every bite. See, if you're eating the flip side of what I just explained in terms of the raw plant diet, even especially for the cooked vegetarians out there, one of the potentially dangerous things is that, if you're eating a lot of, beans and starches, breads, cereals, pastas, things like that, those things are really empty of the four categories I just explained. No water, definitely. Goes without saying. In fact, for pasta and breads and all these things, you have to, or let's say beans, for example, you have to first soak, then cook. So when you're cooking, you have to, what you're using is fire to force the water into the fiber in order to digest and chew it, to digest and assimilate it. If you have to go through that process to chew and digest and assimilate it, then this is a less than ideal food. That is a tremendous amount of resource, and that needs to be utilized in order for you to just chew the food. So it's a less than ideal food. Can you benefit from it? Can it give you something so you can live another day? Of course it can. But we're talking about living optimally. We're talking about the most important health habit. And a lot of our foods unfortunately fall into this category. It's, even if you're a meat eater and you advocate the use of eating animal proteins, what are most of the animals eating? Most of the animals are eating wheat, they're eating soy, and so they're eating the same things basically. So you're getting the wheat and the soy, and whatever else, or the corn. That's the wheat, corn, and the soy, secondhand. So it's I'm just at a loss of words because it's so bad. It's really just gonna destroy you. And the thing is that being that these foods are, number one, less than ideal. Number one, if you can still limit your food intake, but we both know that if you're eating these things, you're probably eating first for pleasure, then for nutrition, or you're not even necessarily even eating for your nutritional needs first and foremost. You're just eating for survival, or you're eating for just pleasure. And the thing is that if you're eating like that without any sort of plan or any sort of consciousness, then you're probably eating 3 to 4 times a day with snacks, and you're pretty much going to be a victim of your own habit. So with that said, the most important health habit is the proper consumption of the ideal amount of food. And how do we manage that? Now, I just explained that well, basically what I did is made a case for the raw vegan diet being a way to allow you to utilize that most important health habit. But I, in the same breath, I'm not saying that eating raw is the most important health habit. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that if you're eating the right stuff, then that's going to help you to eat one meal a day. That's going to help you to be very efficient in terms of your dietary intake. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Or you can shoot me an email. Just definitely check out my website. Check out what we're doing. If you're ever in Washington, D.C. area, come check me out. Peace, love, and good health.